So Ben Shapiro, as you all know by now, is Ron DeSantis' number one cheerleader. He greatly prefers DeSantis to Trump. Now, to be fair to him, I mean, look, it's true. The candidates that were most Trumpy got destroyed in the last election. Trump has been, holding back the Republicans for 3 election cycles now, 2018, 2020, and 2022. The most Trump-aligned candidates did the worst. It's just a fact. And the Republicans who were less tied to him did better. So I think Ben sincerely wants conservative Republicans to win. And he is more ideological than a lot of the other Republican voters who are just voting based off vibes, and they like the vibe of alpha dog Trump. And so he's been trying to, make the argument for DeSantis over Trump. He's been failing. All the polls show that the Republican base is still more pro-Trump than DeSantis. DeSantis had a brief moment after the midterms where he was above Trump, but that faded kind of quickly when Trump started launching an all-out assault on DeSantis. Well, Ben's going to launch into one of his segments here where he simps for Ron DeSantis. And the argument here I find delicious because Ben has built an entire career around basically being your standard conservative Republican, your standard ideologue, and sort of trying to dress up the arguments and intellectualize the arguments and make it sound like more edgy and cool for a younger audience. Now, I think he's failed at that. He gets great numbers on YouTube, so it's not a total failure. But still, the numbers of young people, they're overwhelmingly more on the left than they are on the right. So that goal is not working. But he still has a sizable audience. I don't want to overstate it, right? But here he is, without even realizing it, he's going to undermine the past decade of his economic philosophy. I love this. Let's watch.
Hey, so this is actually a broadly popular policy. The media are trying to play this as though this is not a popular policy. That, of course, is not true. But what's fascinating is the dynamic inside the Republican Party. So far, a bunch of Republicans who are running for president have stacked up against DeSantis on this thing, presumably because they are trying to run against DeSantis, but also because they seem very uncomfortable with the idea of challenging corporate power in the political sphere.
So just to catch you up, what he's talking about here is Ron DeSantis took on Disney. Now, I'm sure you guys saw the story by now. It had a lot to do with Disney is too woke now, right? Oh, they have diverse characters and some of them are gay and that's unacceptable and we're grooming our children by having Disney do this. And so DeSantis tried to step in, throw around his weight politically. He basically tried to take control over Disney, but then Disney outmaneuvered him at the last second. So he kind of failed on that massively. And then DeSantis was coping and seething and doing press conferences where he's like, well, maybe I'll build a state prison right next to Disney to really show them who's boss. Look, nobody's a good guy in this fight, right? Because Disney represents corporate power. Ron DeSantis represents very conservative Republican governance. Those are both bad things, just to be clear. But Disney outmaneuvered Ron DeSantis. And so now Ben Shapiro is trying to act like a lot of Republicans are against DeSantis on this, man. They're crazy. He's standing up to Disney. And as we all know, Ben Shapiro, and conservative Republicans, we love standing up to corporate power. Literally, your whole career is based on the opposite. Your whole career is based on leave it up to the corporations. Get the government out, leave it up to the corporations. He argued with Tucker Carlson. He asked Tucker Carlson, would you ban, automatic driving trucks to protect the jobs of tens of thousands of truckers? And Tucker was like, are you kidding me? In a second, I'd do that. And Ben Shapiro was like, well, no, I don't think I should do it. Oh, wait, actually, the Ben Shapiro was like, well, Tucker, I don't think that that's the right thing to do because what we need to do is make sure that the algorithmic certainty of the platitude of the... All right, he wouldn't say something less stupid than that, but he would say, he was like, no, of course, you got to let technology go where it goes. You got to let the corporations do what they want to do because that's the free market, baby. Now, all of a sudden, the free market stuff, out the window. When it comes to DeSantis, out the window with the free market stuff. All right, let's keep listening.
Presumably because they are trying to run against DeSantis, but also because they seem very uncomfortable with the idea of challenging corporate power in the political sphere, which is very strange. Now, again,
I agree, Ben. That is very strange. You should want to challenge corporate power. Perhaps not in the way that you want them to, but challenging corporate power is good, actually.
Also, because they seem very uncomfortable with the idea of challenging corporate power in the political sphere, which is very strange. Now, again, I'm a person who's about as laissez-faire on economics as it is possible to get. Yep. I'm very, very free market oriented. With that said, when corporations decide to become essentially tools of the Democratic Party, and when they do so, while having special tax districts, it is not out of bounds to take away their special privileges.
Okay. I love this. So here, let me explain what he means. In other words, I'm totally in favor of the free market unless corporations, in my opinion, start acting too woke. In which case, I would love the government to get involved. I would love the state to get involved to put them in their place and make them act more conservative or traditional. That's really his position. So stop and think about that. Ben Shapiro would love government intervention to try to stand up against the LGBTQ community, but he doesn't love government intervention to make wages higher, to redistribute wealth to the poor and have a better social safety net, to give people health care. So it's an amazing philosophy. It's an amazing approach to governance. I want government intervention. I would like big government to force people to be more like Leave It to Beaver, the traditional American family. But I don't want the government to get involved and make sure that your water is not being poisoned, or builders are not cutting corners, which might lead to building collapses. So keep the government out when it comes to economics, but get the government involved to stand up against wokeness. It is so dumb. Because in case you haven't been able to piece it together, my philosophy is the exact opposite. Let people say what they want to say, do what they want to do. On social issues, I'm all day live and let live. I believe in freedom. But on economic issues, you need regulations, because if you leave capitalism on its own, it will devour itself and it will make 1% of the population phenomenally wealthy and destroy 99% of the population. It'll be a race to the bottom. We know. We've seen it. So, Ben Shapiro, again, this whole segment he's doing is like, you believe these Republicans don't want to stand up to corporate power, man? I definitely do. First of all, your whole career was about don't stand up to corporate power. Corporations are right and better. Second of all, the only way you want to stand up to them is to make them less woke. I'm in favor of standing up to corporations to make sure they pay their fair share of taxes, to make sure wages are higher, to make sure people get health care, to make sure we have unions, so we have collective bargaining, to make sure that workers have some leverage. Anyway, those are the different options on the menu. You guys determine what you think makes more sense. I think the answer is obvious. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.